All right, let's talk about one of history's most brilliant and honestly most tragic minds. We're talking about a man whose ideas literally power our world, yet whose name was almost completely lost to time. This is the incredible story of Nikola Tesla. So let me just start with a question for you. Who really invented the 20th century? Now, if you're thinking of names like Thomas Edison or Guglielmo Marconi, you're on the right track, but you might be missing the main character. A man whose vision was so far out there, it seriously bordered on magic. You see, Tesla's life is this wild story of incredible highs and just devastating lows. He went from being a scientific superstar, a true household name, to a forgotten figure. So let's unpack that journey from total stardom right down into obscurity. And this right here, this is the heart of the tragedy. His brain produced the very technology that defines our modern lives. Everything from the power grid to the radio. And yet, he spent his final years buried in debt, his greatest dreams totally shattered, and his reputation in tatters. How does that happen? So, who was this guy? Well, Nikola Tesla was born in a tiny village in what's now Croatia. From a very young age, it was clear he was a prodigy, a total visionary. In 1884, with basically just the clothes on his back and a letter of recommendation, he lands in America. He has one goal: to work for the great inventor himself, Thomas Edison. But yeah, that partnership was not going to last long. And that breakup would spark one of the most important technological battles in all of history. This was a high-stakes showdown between two absolute geniuses with completely different ideas for how to power the future. This was the War of Currents. Okay, so after a pretty nasty falling out over some unpaid bonuses, Tesla storms out of Edison's company. Now, Edison was all in on direct current, or DC, which was fine, but it was super inefficient and couldn't travel very far. Tesla, on the other hand, had developed a revolutionary new system, alternating current, or AC. This stuff could send power across hundreds of miles, no problem. Edison saw this as a huge threat and launched this vicious smear campaign, publicly electrocuting animals to prove how dangerous AC was. It was brutal, but Tesla, now backed by the industrialist George Westinghouse, was ready for a fight. And this quote, this tells you everything you need to know about Tesla's motivation. During a huge financial panic, his partner Westinghouse was about to go bankrupt. So to save the company and to make sure his AC system actually saw the light of day, Tesla did the unthinkable. He ripped up his royalty contract, giving up a fortune that would be worth billions today. For him, it was never about the money. It was about progress for humanity. The final decisive victory happened at Niagara Falls. The commission in charge chose the Westinghouse and Tesla AC system to harness the incredible power of the falls, which was actually a childhood dream of Tesla's. This project, kicking out an initial 100,000 horsepower, was a massive success. It proved once and for all that AC was the way to go, and just like that, the War of Currents was over. Now, winning the War of Currents didn't just make Tesla a successful inventor, it turned him into a global celebrity. Seriously, for a while in the 1890s, he was one of the most famous men on the planet. His rise to the top was just meteoric. He was giving these spellbinding lectures to sold-out crowds, getting honors from top scientific groups, and his tech was lighting up world fairs. He became a fixture of New York high society, dining with bankers and famous artists. Tesla had hit the absolute peak of his fame and influence. Even the media hailed him as a titan of science. This quote from the New York Times just shows you how respected he was. He was the classic self-made man who, through pure genius, had climbed to the very top. But this is where the story takes a sharp turn. This brings us to the project that was supposed to be his masterpiece, but instead became the beginning of his downfall. A project so ambitious, so far ahead of its time, it was almost doomed from the start. The Wardenclyffe Tower. So with funding from the incredibly powerful banker J.P. Morgan, Tesla starts building this gigantic transmission tower out on Long Island. And his vision for it was, well, it was breathtaking. It wasn't just about sending wireless messages. It was about broadcasting power itself through the Earth, giving limitless, free energy to every single person on the planet.
But while Tesla was dreaming of free energy for all mankind, his rival, Guglielmo Marconi, was focused on something a lot more practical and a lot more profitable. In December of 1901, using technology that was based on Tesla's own patents, Marconi successfully sent a single letter S across the Atlantic, and the world just went crazy for it. This was the nail in the coffin. When Tesla tried to explain to his funder, J.P. Morgan, that Marconi was only successful because he was using Tesla's own inventions, it completely backfired. Morgan saw a simpler, more profitable business in what Marconi was doing. He pulled the funding, and Tesla's grand dream of Wardenclyffe died right there on the vine. After the disaster of Wardenclyffe, Tesla began this long, slow slide into obscurity. But when you strip away the tragic myth, what's his real, lasting legacy?
His legacy is, and this is no exaggeration, the modern world. The AC motor that runs everything from our refrigerators to our factories, the Tesla coil, which was fundamental for early radio and TV, the actual principles of radio transmission, the very first remote-controlled vehicle, the efficient way we generate hydroelectric power. He even had the foundational concepts for robotics. These weren't just theories, they are the bedrock of our entire technological age.
In this chart, it really captures the two sides of Tesla perfectly. On one hand, you have the world-changing systems he actually built, the ones that won the war and now power our planet, and on the other, you have these even grander dreams, like free wireless energy, that were so far ahead of their time they just couldn't happen, and they ultimately led to his downfall. So that leaves us with this final question. Was Nikola Tesla a misunderstood genius, a man who saw the future so clearly that no one else could keep up? Or was he an impractical visionary, whose dreams just got so big they flew too close to the sun? You know, the answer, just like the man himself, is incredibly complex. And that's exactly what makes his story so endlessly fascinating.